Hello, all of my lovely and beautiful live fantasy listeners. If you can hear me, please type in chat. Please, please, please. I see Sam in here in this chat. There we go. Well, today, folks, we have a very, very, very special installment of uh, of D time here with our second stretch throughout the second third of the season. We are going to be moving into what I like to call D time checkup, which is a one-on-one debate style show. And on our first episode, we have two special guests. In our matchup of the week, we have Coach Jimmy Campbell and Coach Willie Terry here to discuss some qualms that they may have and discuss their matchup going into the final stretch here tonight on a Sunday in week 9 of fantasy basketball. So we're going to keep this to 1 hour. They have 1 hour to discuss these things. We have some structure here. Let's have our guest join us. First up, we have Coach Jimmy Campbell.
Hello, Coach Arzola, and happy week 9 to all the fantasy coaches out there. I hope you are enjoying this festive time of year and are gifted lots of points by your players this time of year.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach. And up next, we have Coach Willie Terry of the Hairline Heroes. Coach.
Coach, how's it going? Good hearing from everybody today. Happy again to share this space on live. Talked a little bit briefly with Coach Arzola, so this is quite the honor to be able to be here. Wish it was under not so much scrutiny and I'm brought here for controversy, but here we are.
Yes. So let's get right into it, fellas. We're going to go one at a time, back and forth with our questions. First up, let me get this correct here real quick. Okay. First up, I want to ask, let's go with Coach Terry. Okay. Coach, I just want to know, what are your opinions on Coach Campbell's team?
So, to be extremely clear, and this is something that I'm a reflective guy. I'm like, what maybe would have set this clown off to go off into a podcast winning 3 straight weeks against real opponents. Now, I'm not trying to get too far ahead of myself, but I'm just going to remind the fan base here on the most recent podcast, he was all up and down. I'm going to use those words. He was up and down on TJ's team, saying how great they were. Well, I defeated Coach Arzola's team. Sorry, Coach Arzola's team. I defeated Terry's team as well. So his prerogative or his ranking in terms of power rankings, and then to go off and say, now if he said it was based on dynasty, sure, absolutely, get it. That's fine. We all can have our own opinions. But he said, right, that it wasn't based on dynasty. And so I thought back to the first podcast I ever did where I did say that, yeah, like, I have some dismay with Coach Campbell and how he deals with things, but I do think his team is solid. And I'll stand right here today and say that his team is extremely solid. It was the sheer amount. What I felt was disrespect. In terms of, I ranked myself first in the power rankings, but I told you that I was it was on the basis of how are teams performing. Like the Fighting Illini wouldn't go lose 5 straight and then suddenly still be ranked. So that's kind of where I was like, well, his power rankings didn't make much sense. I thought it was lousy. I think it was just clickbaiting league members just to get a reaction, because I just think that maybe he felt irrelevant or out of the discussion, and so he needed to be back. And well, look what happened. He's on a live in live television for D time. So this may be exactly what he wanted.
Coach Campbell, your response.
I just want to make one thing clear from the very start. This is also like, Coach Terry, if you took it as disrespect, it wasn't meant disrespect, but those past 3 weeks, respectfully, if you played me 3 weeks in a row, you'd be on a 3-game losing streak right now. My team outscored you all 3 of those weeks. Okay.
Whoa, let him talk. Let him talk, please.
I gave you your time to yap, and you said a lot of things as well. So and the team, let's be fair. you're against a lot of competition here. This is a competitive league. I ranked you below. I think pretty fair opponents. Mighty Rose and TJ obviously automatically go above you. I think where you take some disrespect that is when I put Sam over you and you felt disrespected. It's Sam coming. He has he has a losing record. He has a losing record right now, but he is about to win his third game in a row as well. And I think Sam is catching fire here. And Sam has been his losses in my opinion been more impressive than your wins. I mean beating a struggling beat beating a beating a struggling Giddy's Predator Party a few weeks back. I'm just not too impressed by you beat Coach Arzola, okay, fine. You beat whoever, this and that. But like I said, a big reason to why I ranked you like this is because the ceiling of teams, your team is just not as high of a ceiling as these other teams. I mean, you see the Parmesan Walls. Big respect to them. A 434 this week. It's just what I said last week just seems more and more like the truth of what your team is, the story of your team, and it's unfolding as these weeks go on into the future.
Now that quote that I heard about one team's losses being more impressive than another team's wins is a first for me. Now, Coach Terry, I want to ask you.
Real quick, may I say, fantasy wise, this fantasy, I believe, is the only thing you can. If it was an actual sport, hell no. Sports are one thing. I know you brought up the fighting and line whatever ranked. That this is fantasy basketball we're talking about here. Okay, well,
Right. No. No.
let's be fair.
Sure.
Um,
Go ahead. Sorry.
but I can understand why you felt maybe disrespect. I mean, I did. If somebody put me over, below a losing record team, I'd feel disrespected as well. But you just got to come out, and perform in the coming weeks and prove me wrong. That's just my mentality.
Well, I'm going to be clear with this. I'm not. I don't feel entitled, or I don't feel like I have to prove you anything. I just think that more and more times than not, the league is becoming more and more sure that you have some ridiculous takes. The decisions in terms of like trading, we don't have. I'm not going to get into that. I want to stick straight to what got us here in the first place. So I made it a point to myself that I'm going to clear that from the record. But simply just on the basis of takes, Jimmy, like I don't understand. So I beat. So let's come back here. I beat TJ and Trenton, right?
Very
Hold on. Let me finish.
a very injury rattled Trenton team. Let's be
Jimmy,
clear. All right.
I'm talking.
Okay, so fair, right? Trenton, but then again, you still were talking up TJ's team. So my point in this is, if they cannot be a low floor, you say a low ceiling team, then what makes them higher ranked than me if I beat them? See, that's where I just don't understand because then that makes it that makes it dynasties, Jimmy. That makes it dynasty. That's not a power rankings.
I see where you're coming from. Where I was coming from though was all these teams with high ceilings have inconsistencies, right? I mean TJ, Coach Orzello, let's be frank with you. This week was not your best week. I mean, you're sitting at under 300 now. It looks like you might be the lowest scoring team this week. But
so can I cut in real quick there before I forget to make this point? Does me not being consistent say more about my team than extremely volatile teams like TJ? This is not supposed to be razzing on other coaches.
Yeah.
That's not what I want to make.
Wait, what did you say? Can you repeat that?
Can you guys not hear me?
No, we can hear you.
I can hear you. I
think you understood the question.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my point is consistently I've been in the anywhere from 360 to 390. In fact, that's about where I should be by the end of tonight. Whether it's a win or loss, whatever, right? That's where about where I'm going to be. Now, if teams are ducking under that value, does that not raise some red flags to you in terms of a power ranking as well?
You know, if it does, it definitely raises some red flags to me. You are correct about that. If they're not even making it to the 350 mark, it's not a great look. Um and Coach TJ is making me look pretty bad this week. No, once again, no offense to Coach Arzola,
Look,
but
because
no,
I'm not a part of this debate show, but I'm getting dragged in here a little bit. Let's focus on the
All
two
right.
teams here.
Yeah, you're correct. You're correct. So, just the yeah, the I
So
do
what?
I know okay, let me finish. I do think there's some red flags when it comes to that aspect of a power ranking. Um but where I rank them above, I thought I made a good point where I think 400, which it looks like I may hit that for the third or fourth straight week in a row here. I think is a championship caliber level of where of a team, how a team is constructed. And so I just think that looking at your team, and I think it really helped that I actually played you this week, seeing some of the f- the good things which you do. I mean, Jokic is definitely something not to be underestimated. If we're being if we're being completely real here, um, but it's a good thing that I played your team this week. I think to really feel the strengths and weaknesses of your team more like in my face every time I open Sleeper. Your team is right there, and it's just your team actually impressed me this week. Regardless of if you lose this week, you know uh you might get bumped up. If we were doing power rankings, I'd say you'd be over one or two teams that I ranked you over last week. But that doesn't disregard from the fact that there are some flaws in your team. I think that you have a couple p- spots missing on your roster as far as uh I mean, like I said, I'm not a big Julius Randle fan. I'm not a big. I mean, Josh Hart and Norman Powell's was good. Was really good last year. He had a breakout year last year, but this year isn't so good for him. This year he's been kind of in my opinion, he's had not a good year.
Sure.
This
Well, I want to say thank you for your critique of my fantasy team. I'm so glad to take expert advice from a championship team. So thank you, Coach.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
I have a question for the both of you. So we brought up consistency here. Was a word that was brought up for each of you. We'll start off with Willie. What teams do you view as the most consistent in the league?
So honestly, I would say at this moment, record to the side, power rankings to the side. Consistently, I've been in the same range. But there was one outlier, and that was with Trenton's the week one against Trenton, where he had like a bomb that went off on his team or something like that, and I was playing catch up the rest of the week. But beyond that, like I stay true to my point that I've been, I believe, to my knowledge, 350 to 390 throughout. So I would say I'm among those. Jimmy for sure. I wasn't saying I wanted Jimmy to be. I wanted to be ranked ahead of Jimmy. Jimmy, I think, is also on a 3-game win streak. I'm not dissing the guy's team. That was not the that was not the point. I was dissing his takes, and I just thought they were ridiculous. So I would say Jimmy definitely is making a case for being one of the more consistent teams. Logan is becoming more consistent, and really, I would say as at this moment amongst the three, yeah.
Jimmy?
Yeah, as much as much as I say that he hasn't hit 400 this year, I would say Coach Willie he has a consistent team. You know, he doesn't have too many bad weeks. Okay. Um, I obviously I think my team is very consistent. Um, and yeah, I think Coach Trenton's team also is very consistent when healthy when he has a compo in there. So I'd
Yeah,
say I'd say
I'm
those
not
three.
I'm not arguing with that point, but I did want to make mention that with his team healthy, he's usually pretty consistent as well.
Yes, most definitely.
So what I want to ask you, hypothetically, next year, your commissioner comes up to both of you and says, next year you're going to take over a new team instead of your team. Where does each of the other person's team rank in terms of what you would pick to take over the other team? And then what would you do to that team to improve it from the way that you like to manage a roster? Start off with Jimmy.
So what are we ranking here?
So commissioner comes up to you and says, Jimmy, next year you have to take over somebody else's team. Where does Willie's team rank in terms of teams that you would take over? If you could pick any other team.
Willie's team rank.
And then if you were to take Willie's team, what are you doing to that roster to improve it based on how you run your fantasy?
Okay. Yeah, this is a dynasty league, right? So, as far as rankings wise, where I would put him, man, I would take one, even some of these rebuilding teams over him, over his team. I'm not a fan of the he's Coach Terry, and it's the way it's his team. He can run it how he wants, and he wants to be competitive, and he's been competitive over the few years here. But he doesn't have much draft capital. Like I said, he's got an aging core here. So I would rank it like I'd say I'd rank it seventh in teams and other teams. I'd say sixth because my team I wouldn't be able to take over. So second to last. Yeah, I'd say second to last. If I were to take over his team, um, to be honest, I would trade Jokic. I would definitely want to get a haul for Jokic, no matter how painful it would be. No matter even if he goes to the Ola Deep Throats. Oh my gosh, if that would be a scary team. But if he's going to the Ola Deep Throats, you have to at least get back like like Luca or somebody like that. But I definitely would like to acquire maybe some young pieces from any of these teams, such as Bronny Bunch, Giddy's Predator Party, or My D Rose. Definitely some young guys I would want to haul from that, and then I would want to draft well as well.
Coach Terry?
So uh if you asked me at a different time, it would probably be a different scenario, and I would be honest with you, I'd probably have Jimmy's team up there. But based on the way that Coach Sarvell is playing, obviously that is a very solid pick. Extremely young. Uh Even you make a case for being one of the younger teams in the league. So I think I would rank you above him in terms of dynasty aspect, as well as like obviously this is like almost irrelevant to me because I don't really have like a dynasty type of team like some people do. Even Sam is fairly young. So I would say middle of the pack. I'm not going to go off in disrespect and say six for him, but I would say somewhere in like I would say somewhere probably in the 3 and 4 range. Frankly, I do like, I know this was a conversation in the previous podcast beyond just talking about like kind of my team, but like his team does have some volatility, which is kind of the whole reason where the way I built my team was I wanted it to be consistent around Jokic. Like I just don't foresee Kawhi Leonard having 55s consistently. Amongst a couple other guys like Joel Embiid, right? He didn't have a nuke against me, but so in that case, I think that Jimmy's age is kind of running up. He does have draft capital, which obviously suits him well. So somewhere in maybe the fourth, I would say third or fourth range for sure.
Okay, and what would you do to improve on his roster if you were taking over that roster?
Go for Jokic. No, but honestly, I would see what I could get though with some draft capital. I can't lie. And maybe have it. I would have to look at his team, but giving away a couple of to me it sounded like Jimmy was pretty passionate, or Coach Campbell was pretty passionate about the amount of picks that he had. So I wouldn't mind being in the position that if I was in his position, kind of donating some of those away to maybe get one more star to just add to the already pretty stacked roster that he's got. In fairness, so.
Yeah, I agree. I've thought about that myself, and I'd like to just add, Willie picked one team, so I would like to pick a couple teams up there that I didn't really rank. I kind of just said where I'd put Coach Terry's team, but I would say my two teams, honestly, Coach Zarvell's team for sure. If I had to take over a team, and then also Coach Simeon's team, I'd honestly, next year, going into next year, I know I see you making that face, Coach Arzola, but he has a nice core. I love his core with Josh Giddey, Denny Advia. He's got a lot of young players, uh, and uh, and a lot of draft capital that
He's in the room
I
with
love. I love
I
drafting.
can see him over there.
I would say the same if he wasn't here though. I love the young core that he's got. So
Shut up,
So
TJ.
whatever, coach. So I want you guys to rank. I'm gonna name aspects of a fantasy roster type beat of each other's teams, and I want you guys to rank each other's teams from these aspects. It'll make a little more sense. So rank them 1 through 5. So for this season, the other team's ceiling. So Jimmy, 1 through 5. What do you rank Coach Terry's ceiling for this season?
ceiling as in week to week or
Like
how far he
championship
can go?
contention.
Championship contender. I would rank Coach Terry. I would rank Coach Terry a 3. As once playoff rolls around, I will say it. Like I said, he's a consistent team. He doesn't drop below his score very often. And if injuries come about, some of these inconsistent teams can become more inconsistent. With their high scores and the low scores. So I think he can make a run against a few of these injury prone teams or inconsistent teams, and make a run in the playoffs. But I don't. The 3 is kind of where I put that. I don't think he could knock off a team such as me or Coach Trenton.
Okay.
Any scenario.
Coach Terry, in terms
So
of Jimmy's
five
ceiling?
five best one.
Yes.
Oh, on that note, one. No, I'm just kidding. Just based on ceiling alone, I'm gonna have to give him a 5. Again, I do like. I don't need to go into this discussion because I'm assuming there's going to be a question that's going to go along with what I have to say. But on ceiling alone, definitely, yeah, a 5.
Okay. Now,
Thank you, Coach.
in terms of roster direction and clarity, in terms of do they have a clear plan for their roster? How do you think that Coach Campbell's team ranks 1 through 5? Does he have a clear direction? 5 being yes, I can clearly see you.
I would say maybe like a kind of going back to a 3, like he said, largely just because of the Tatum trade really threw me off. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong. He had Jason Tatum fairly recently.
Mhm.
I don't remember what exactly he gave up to get or what he got back for Jason Tatum, but that one kind of threw me through a loop, largely just because I just think like what sucks about it, and I would totally understand his like kind of like frustration and like want to have something like that like this season, because man, would it pay dividends if he did have someone like Jason Tatum still on the roster. So I'm sure it was a little bit of impatience, but nonetheless, I think that kind of threw me off, especially because there are a couple guys that are honestly aging stars or not people that don't play a whole lot in terms of injuries. So I would say maybe a 3, but I would definitely not go as far as to say like a 2 or a 1.
Okay, Jimmy, and your thoughts on Coach Terry's roster direction?
I think
in terms of clarity of it, not in terms of your opinion of
yes.
direction.
I would say a 5. I think he has a very clear direction of his team. I think He definitely knows what he's doing with his team, and what he wants to do with this team. So obviously he doesn't have any, like, virtually any draft capital right now. And his team is win now built. So I would say his direction is very clear with where his team's at.
Okay. And in terms of star power, where would you rank Coach Terry?
Star power. I would say I would rank star power for Coach Terry. I would go back down to a 3. Jokic is a star, and he's got all-star caliber players on his roster. But I think he yeah, Kevin Durant, Jalen Brunson, Jokic, Rudy Gobert. He's got the talent there, and star power. So only reason it's not a higher than a 3 is just because of the age of some of these guys, and they won't be around for too much longer, in my opinion.
Okay, Coach Terry, same to you.
Definitely a 5 for star power. I
Okay.
I have to make just a quick comment because I was on the game last night and I've said it before. It's just like one after the other. You feel like you're getting a break sometimes. Like last night was just like, okay, can take a deep breath. The night is over. He's got some of his scores, but then Kawhi Leonard goes in the lineup. It's just like it just didn't stop. So, massive props to him. I mean, he's got the guys to compete for a title. So.
Thank you,
Okay, and
Coach.
let's switch over. Where would you rank his depth?
Shit. Probably kind of went to my point. Probably a 5. Probably a 5. However, well, I have other comments with it, but that's not to say that I'm right with them. It's just concern. I suppose just concerns. But probably a 5. Yeah.
Okay, and Jimmy.
I initially I was gonna go a lower score here for Coach Terry on depth. Because he had Paul George last night. He was gonna play, and then he went out, and I didn't know who was gonna come in, and nobody's scores have impressed me too much. I mean, Josh Hart had an all right game for you. He put up a 33, and Powell was all right, like 32. So these are guys that you can fill in. But I'm gonna give Coach Terry a 3 here on depth as well. Just because only reason I'm not going lower is because he had some guys such as Derek White, who I've honestly underrated as a player. He locked him for 38, and then the next game he goes off for 51. So I believe Derek White is actually very underrated as a role player. I wouldn't say he's quite a star. I know he was on the Team USA team uh, last year or a few years back, but I would give Coach Terry a 3. DeMar DeRozan had a 40-piece this week. I know I kind of was hating on DeMar a little bit in the last podcast, but he had a 40 this week. And DeMar was on the Bulls as well, so if he picks it up, I love DeMar's game, so I hope he can pick it up here as the season goes along. But yeah, I'd say I give him a 3 for that.
Okay, and let's go with game-to-game management in terms of actually placing, making decisions on scores on a week-to-week basis. Jimmy, you first.
Me first. Game to game basis, I'd say, I feel like just with how consistent Coach Terry is, this is gonna be my second 5 that I'm gonna give to him. I think he manages his team very well, and as I said, um, I'm not, I haven't looked too far into Coach Terry's lineup as far as locks on a game to game basis. If he locked a score that maybe was lower than another score later in the week, but I think that just with how consistent his scores are, he does the best he can, and he usually is pretty consistent with his players game to game as well.
Okay, and Coach Terry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go. Probably. I don't know. This one's tough. I would say definitely it's a 4 or a 5, and I think the big thing that gets me with him in terms of his game to game management, he's not one to panic, and I kind of appreciate that in a coach because I do the same thing myself. I like there is several instances where I will wait until the last 2 minutes, right, just to maybe see, hey, how did Jalen Brunson fare, or how's he faring, Jalen Brunson faring through one half, just to see if maybe he's on a track or trajectory where it's like, oh yeah, I can lock that 39, or I could lock that 41 and feel pretty comfortable with it. So yeah, I would say a 4 to a 5, and honestly, Coach Campbell's scores sometimes are so far out of the water that it makes it pretty easy on him. When you see a 55, you don't really have to debate it. You just kind of lock it. So there's that.
Thank you, Coach.
So our last ranking, we'll go off of asset management. So that's trades, free agent signings, free agent droppings, drafting, etc. How do you view asset management for Jimmy?
Well, it opens the door for me to be able to do it. I think he made some trade mistakes, but I think that he kind of lucked out because his brother. Sometimes it feels like he turns the thinking cap off when he's trading with Jimmy. But anyway, without getting too far into that, I would say the Jason Tatum parts has me a little bit, kind of maybe me ranking him a little bit lower. I really would have liked, I'm happy in some ways that he's not on Coach Campbell's team. I think that almost did us a favor in some ways as a league, but so maybe like a 3 or so. But I also, that's not to say that I'm perfect. I know that I made a pretty big coaching blunder myself. But
Coach Jimmy?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have this one. This is gonna be my first one for Coach Terry. Just because like I said, it's his team. He can manage it how he wants. I'm just not a fan of trading all the draft capital. I know he's win now. He kind of the dynasty aspect of things is kind of, he's running his team how he wants to run it. But yes, he has Jokic on his team now, but trading Giannis to Coach Trenton was I believe to this day still the biggest trade blunder in all of Say's fantasy, in my opinion. It's his team is completely disgusting with Luka and Giannis healthy and on the same team. It's just 450s week after week. So and props to Coach Trenton. He I'm sure was very persistent on making that trade happen, and I would be too. Getting those two stars, arguably the behind Jokic 2 and 3 in all of fantasy. It's and Coach Terry, I'm sorry, but if I could explain the Tatum trade, because you have brought it up a couple of times.
Can I cut in real quick?
Go ahead.
And then I'll let you give your
Okay,
philosophy again. But
okay.
I'm gonna have to disagree on the Giannis portion of it. If it largely just because if it would have led to me not competing whatsoever the next couple of years, I would agree with you. But the championship last year, in fairness, was between me and Coach Burkhardt. So I don't really foresee that being the biggest. And now down the line, I think we'll get more clarity in terms of what the biggest trading blunders were. I actually thought you were going to go after the Donovan Mitchell part because that was what I felt was a pretty strong coaching blunder in terms of my own team, not in terms of making another team better, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That actually, yeah. I also, yeah, I didn't understand the whole because you gave up a decent amount for Jaren Jackson in that trade, and then you turned around and traded Jaren Jackson to Coach Logan. So I didn't really understand that. It was a position you greatly needed. I remember it. I believe it was one of the first weeks of the season.
Mhm.
But and then the Jason Tatum trade, I did. Let's be very clear. The original offer was Anthony Davis, a first round pick. I was able to get Anthony Davis, 2 first round picks, a third round pick, and Bub Carrington in that deal. So it was a very big haul that I felt like I couldn't turn down. It really didn't have anything to do with me being impatient with Tatum. I did realize that Tatum would be on my team for a very long time. That would be a big three with him, Anthony Edwards, and Victor Wembanyama. But the reason that that deal fell through is or excuse me, didn't fall through, went through, passed is simply because Coach Sarvel is very persistent. I love the deal that I had on the table, and it was very win now mentality as well, and and yeah, it just that's my take on the Tatum trade.
Okay. Jimmy, we have a fan submitted question here. Was part of the reason why you ranked Willie so low a form of rage bait because you knew it would get a reaction out of him?
So yes, as I was explaining in the chat, that was a little bit form of rage bait. I see that Coach Terry in the chat, Coach Trenton Terry asking that question. So that is what that was partially. Yeah, I initially did have him at 5 in my power ranking, but I was like, you know what, let's spice the league up a little bit. Let's you know, let's get our opinions out there, you know what I'm saying? Because I really like I said, it's Coach Terry's team, but it's just not how I would manage my team, if that makes sense.
Sure, and I get it. But as far as I'm concerned, we're on the level playing field right now, my friend. I'm not looking for expert advice from a guy that also has not won a championship. We are both in the same position. Like you are not one above the other. Like you've been doing this in
Well,
terms
I'm
of
gonna be above you this week though.
that's facts. But we're only a first third through the season, and we're
But
1-1 on the series. And by the
I,
way, this is only putting you 2.5 games above me throughout like league history. So realistically, it's for the birds. Like I'm not looking
well,
for your admiration. I just am looking for your respect.
I have something. So, to Coach Terry's point, question is for you, Jimmy. All time rankings. After if you win this week, you will be. Let's see. I think you're right because right now you're half a game ahead of Coach Terry all time in your all time record. So
that's
whatever
it.
that is it. You guys have very similar points for, very similar points against all time. You guys have both finished second in the league standings, have both finished second after the playoffs as the runner up. So, Coach Jimmy, from your perspective, where do you see the difference between yourself and Coach Terry to Coach Terry's point?
I don't
Because it's
I don't
very
think
similar all the time.
I don't think that's a fair way to look at it at all. I think that we drafted our first draft in 2023. We drafted very different teams. I drafted Victor Wembanyama with my very first pick, and yes, I may have finished second place in the league that year, but that was not the that was. Yeah, I mean, I could look at it as a goal, but that is not what I was thinking when I was first drafting a rookie with my very first pick in the league. So I think that's a very different way to look at the games as well as I was. He had a blood clot in the second year for the last 5 weeks of the season, whatever that really tanked my record as well. Where I could have picked up a few more wins there. And it's true. Wemby is my supers. He is my Jokic. He is the guy who can put up a 60 to 70 ball on nights, and I just don't think that's a fair way to look at it. At all time records, we once we get a few more years down the line, I think it's going to be more clear with these all time records, as well. And Coach Terry definitely drafted his team as a win now, and he's made moves as a win now. I don't think anybody can argue with that. I still have draft capital as well that I haven't passed off to anybody, and that is also an asset for my team that I haven't given away. Coach Terry has given his draft capital away to other coaches. So I don't think that's a fair way to look at it at all.
So it sounds like we're two separate teams on two separate paths. Like, well, why do you think it would be like a good idea for me to just blow the whole ship away if I'm currently beating the upper echelon of the league?
I just think, you know, look, we actually had this conversation a little bit ago of making a what was it? We make the $20 the buy-in, and then it can be more money for second and third place. So that's a if that happens, second and third place, that you get your consolation prize. But I'm going all the way. I'm going for first place. I want to win it all. I don't like taking consolation prizes over here. As a head coach of the Crowbars.
That was not even the question I was asking. The point I was trying to make is we couldn't control who we draft. Like sometimes people just come off the board. So what makes you say I'm not at the depths of hell in terms of standings? I don't think
No, you're not.
Despite your belief, it's me losing to you is not going to astronomically change the landscape of my season. So what makes you think that this is just worth blowing up for?
I just think you could get a lot. Your rebuild your rebuild is, say you hypothetically trade Jokic right now. What haul could you get back? You could get, man. You could get you would not even not have to rebuild. You might not even like you could trade for. I know you could probably trade for three or four young youngers like rising stars in the league right now and get them on your team, and you would have a whole different trajectory. Sure, you wouldn't win as much this year, maybe not, but it would set you on a whole new path. I think it would give you a much better chance of winning in the future. Like I said, I don't think anybody is gonna beat Coach Trenton or me for the championship this year. So it's just how I look at the league right now.
So I want to jump in here. We have two fan submitted questions to bring up. Jimmy, would you be worried seeing Willie in the playoffs?
Would I be worried seeing Willie in the playoffs? Not right now, not currently. I think that yes, the our matchup was a little closer this week. But I'm not too worried about seeing him in the playoffs. I think respectfully, my team didn't even have that good of a week. Speaking, I mean, I had almost all 40 pluses this week from players, but Wemby's still on a minutes restriction. He had 46 fantasy points in 21 minutes played. If you let him off the leash, he could that could have easily been a 70 plus game from him. Um, and that matches a Jokic bomb right there. So I think as long as if you're asking me hypothetically, if my team is fully healthy in the playoffs, I'm not worried. I think going back to the injury proneness of my team, uh, injuries happen. Sure, Willie could be a problem against me in the playoffs and could give me some struggles. But it's just kind of a wait and see game, man.
Okay. And then our next question is also for you. What is your estimated timeline for Willie to still be competitive?
What is my timeline on him being competitive?
Yes.
Like I said, I think playoffs this year he can be competitive. I think even going into next year he could be competitive, but I think that's where the timeline ends. Then you're looking at Durant, you're getting older. Brunson is going to be 33, 32 or 33. Um, you got these you got no draft capital. You got no more young guys coming in the league unless he makes a move here, which I don't think he will. But like I said, he runs his team how he wants. I respect the competitiveness that Coach Willie brings. I respect it. It didn't seem like he it didn't sound like he heard that I respected his team. Which I do. I respect his team. And that had nothing to do with me ranking him low in the power rankings like that. That was low key some rage baiting ish, um but that's just um I don't think and I think in a couple of years that's where the timeline would end for him.
Coach Terry, where's your confidence rank seeing Jimmy in the playoffs?
I think a lot of things have to go my way that didn't go my way this week. I still haven't been able to provide or give myself a good chance with Drew Holiday, or I haven't been given the opportunity. He's sitting on the bench currently. Um, all honesty, it's ironic. So I'll poke fun at myself, but I said I was the best, like one of the best managers, like making decisions and all that stuff. But like made a blunder in terms of like pulling out DeMar DeRozan earlier than I really even needed to, and he gave me 40, right? So there was just some things that just don't go your way when it comes to this stuff. But Jimmy talking about how this wasn't that strong of a week for him is I don't know if that's completely on par. I feel like this was a pretty strong week when it came to Jimmy, but beyond, except for Victor Wembanyama. But like the fact that he put up these numbers without Vic having like a nuke that I was expecting would maybe match Jokic. All respect to Wembanyama. But in respect to the rest of his team, they competed well. Mine did not compete as well this week. They started off really strong in the beginning. They kind of skidded through, to the last part of the week. I had a couple, Derek White, like you said, 13 more points from him that I could have had. You can't guess this stuff. Jalen Brunson could have had, I think he ended with somewhere in the 50 range. Can't guess it. But, those types of things. Ended with 60, right? So like this is just one of those things where you can't guess those types of things. But just based on those scores alone, I could have beat Jimmy. So I'm right in the hunt. I'm right in the mix. Type of thing, and I'm not trying to compare it to regular sports, but the reality is this: there are teams that will go into win now modes because that's just the way that's just the construct of or the structure of their team. And Nikola Jokic needed guys that could consistently put up 35 plus, and that's what my team is pretty damn good at doing, I would say.
Okay. We're getting closer to the end here, so I want to ask one debate question. Maybe you guys will agree, maybe not, and then we'll finish it up with some rapid fire questions. So my question to the both of you is: this season, we'll say this season, maybe we'll say for the next 2 seasons, who is under more pressure to win a championship? Start with Coach Terry.
Well, I certainly think that both of us are in a quite the bind, largely just because we've unironically dragged a bunch of eyes to us in terms of talking about winning. Obviously, I think there's points to be made for both. My window is obviously shrinking. I have no qualms or issues with admitting that my window is much closer till the end than Jimmy's is. But also things could really pan out where he could really need Jason Tatum. Kawhi Leonard is another guy. Steph Curry is another guy that are major contributors for Jimmy, where there might just be like a weird window where Wembanyama is carrying his squad. So I think the pressure is definitely on the both of us. I think there's cases to be made that the both of us. But the one thing I will say that I think I've said this to other managers throughout the league that I fear sometimes that people might clinch too hard on draft capital, but we'll see what happens. Again, this league is so damn young. None of us know the formula. None of us know the recipe. So I would say equal amount. I think we're both under pressure, but just for different reasons.
Jimmy?
Yeah, I would agree to an extent. I think both of us have some pressure to win. I obviously think if I don't win the championship this year or next year, I still got Ant who's 26. I still got Wemby who's 23. Those are guys I can always find some guys that I can get around. But I think Coach Terry's right. I think I think I think that pressure's on me just because of the competitiveness I bring, the trash talk I've brought to this league, specifically to Coach Willie. Coach Willie, I rip on you, but you won't be the only person I rip on in this league. So just keep it calm. Um, but I obviously Coach Willie, his window is smaller, so I think more pressure would be on him just because of that. Jokic, I'm not really too worried about Jokic's longevity. I think he'll be doing this for quite a few more years on his team. But the rest of his squad is, like I said, is aging. He's and no draft capital. Like I said, if you're not bringing in younger guys, then that shrinks your window. That accelerates, I think, your window of shrinkage, as you'd say.
Would you be worried, Jimmy, if you don't have a championship in the next 2 years? Would you do some self
Um,
reflection?
I would be disappointed if I didn't win the championship in either of these next 2 years. I think that with certain moves that I've made, such as the Jason Tatum trade, um, that's a win now move in my opinion. A big win now move. Uh, I mean, AD. He's like I said, he's had troubles with injuries. He has a history of it. And Stephen Curry and Kawhi, Coach Willie kind of touched on it. They're older guys, but they're hell of contributors for me. And so I would be shocked if I didn't get at least one of these two championships in the next couple of years here.
Okay. So let's close it out with some rapid fire questions here, fellas. We'll start with Willie. One player not in his top two, so not Ant, not Vic, that you would steal from his team.
Right now, in terms of where I would say I'm at, maybe uh, could really use a guard. So honestly, kind of just fit the mold of what I've got in terms of vets. I would Steph Curry would be nice alongside of like a Jalen Brunson with my team, and then I could fill that guard spot with some of the options that I have, like a Jimmy Butler, Norman Powell, all those good. I would have options. Derek White. So I would say honestly, I'm kind of blanking in terms of the rest that he's got. I really like Cat's game. Um, but that's really all I can think of right now.
Jimmy, outside of Brunson and Jokic.
Yeah, a couple guys. As I'm looking at his team here, I would steal. I really need a forward. So I mean, Kevin Durant would be nice. In terms of dynasty, I would like Miles Bridges. Off the Hornets, he didn't have a good week this week, but I know what he's capable of. In terms of that, he can really pop off, give you 50s some weeks. So yeah, I would say those couple players would look really nice on my squad. Yeah, KD and Miles Bridges.
Okay. Jimmy, give me a coach that you respect as a roster builder.
As a roster builder, um, I think this one's pretty obvious. Coach Sarvel. He's done it. I love his young core that he's got. And I think especially with me trading him Tatum, which I was a little nervous about doing with his young core, makes him a serious threat in the next couple of years. And I wouldn't be shocked that in the future I might regret that move because of that. So I think, yeah, my answer would be Coach Sorvell.
And Coach Terry?
In terms of trading and like the rebuild situation that he went through, I would definitely say Coach Sarvel. But just from the jump and just like kind of like playing it how playing fantasy how it's probably supposed to in terms of dynasty, it would definitely be you between the two of you in my opinion. We've seen rebuilds, right? We've seen rebuilds, but with trading, I should say, but you've not really you've been the in between guy. which is likely going to fare well for you. I do think that sometimes we as a league might overlook you, and it really could happen pretty quickly. And even Coach Burkhart makes it kind of a case for himself, kind of being in that same situation where it's like you guys kind of fall under the radar because you're not making blockbuster trades. You've just kind of kept your team and let guys kind of simmer and cook up a little bit. So it's pretty impressive.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Jimmy, let's go. I know we'll go back to Willie here. What is one criticism of your team that's fair?
I would say my strongest or the biggest criticism against my team would be the over 400 points. No doubt. I can't argue that type of thing because the statistics prove that. So I would say that's a proven and that's a fair analysis or critique of my team.
Jimmy?
I'd say a fair critique that I've gotten is my my takes on teams. You know, I like I said, I think that what I say is fair. Critiques I have is fair to an extent, but I can go overboard on certain things. I'm aware of that. And I definitely understand that Coach Willie can definitely win against anybody in the playoffs under any circumstance when it comes to things such as injuries. This is a sport. This is NBA, but it's fantasy, and anything can happen. That's why we live the dream, baby.
That is, it is, Jimmy. Thank you for that. Give me one word to describe Coach Terry's team.
Unk.
Okay. Coach Terry, one word to describe Jimmy's team.
Lucky.
Okay. And last one.
You went
Coach
there.
Terry.
Hey, you went there, Coach. You went there. This was an opportunity for us to go on a high note. So I'm gonna just say it. Volatile. And I that's my biggest critique and my flaw. I think that's a big flaw of his, but we're not going to get too far into it.
Okay. Last one. At the end of the year, however the season finishes, one word you're going to look back and describe this season with what word? Coach Terry, you first. Your season.
Roller coaster, for sure.
Okay. And Jimmy.
One word to describe my season. Champions. I'm confident, man. I think this is my year.
Okay. So let's close it out. Any final words? Jimmy, you first, whether it's the Coach Terry, the rest of the league, whatever. Also, first back-to-back guest on D Time. Slightly sick of hearing your voice, so we'll have to have a little bit of a break before you're on next. But
This is all good.
what would you like to say?
I'd like to say that regardless of what I think of this is where we'll go out on a high note. Regardless of what I think of Coach Willie's team, whether he has a low ceiling or not, I respect the direction of his team. He has a complete direction, and I can respect that. I might not manage my team that way, but that's how he runs it. He's a competitive guy, and I really respect it.
Okay. And Coach Terry?
First and foremost, a thank you to everybody. A thank you to everybody in this league. I think it's been extremely exciting up to this point. I apologize to the rest of the league. I know everybody really wanted me to take down Coach Jimmy this week. And damn it, we fought. But, I'll be back around. I'm in my happy place. I'm content with my team up until the deadline. We'll see what happens, but we're definitely trending in the right. We're trending in the right direction. I'm not too concerned. I think all the noise coming from Coach Campbell and his organization is just to scare you guys thin. Maybe much like he did his brother to get those whack ass players that he ended up getting in those whack ass trades. So good for Jimmy, good for Simeon. But hey,
I'll come back to this in 3 years. We're at the bottom of the pile.
Like guys,
Hey,
let Coach
come on,
go.
Simeon. You're not on the episode. Talk in the chat if you're going to talk.
Coach Jimmy's team. Nobody. I do want to make one thing clear, and then I'll be done. Never ragged on his team being bad. Right. I'm impressed with his team. However, I do think that he's got another thing coming if he thinks that this team isn't going to be competitive, can't beat him in the playoffs, because I promise you we've done it before and we'll do it again.
Thank you. And one last thing to get you guys to end it here with you guys working together. I want you guys to schedule our next episode of D Time. What two coaches would you two like to see check up with one another?
You know what? I would like to see, and you can certainly barge in here, Coach Willie. I would love to see the rebuild coaches on here, Simeon and Griff. Simeon certainly has a lot to say right now, but we can give him his own episode next week. Get it scheduled.
I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to maybe get previous champions on. Maybe do Coach Terry. I am sure he has got a lot to say about his roster. And he will, and frankly, without getting too far into detail, we all know as a league what's in store with him once his team comes back. But obviously, the signals, the alarm bells are kind of going off. So,
yeah, I agree with that. I think we should have the champions on next, especially. I think they would have a lot more to say, especially with the upcoming trade deadline. They would have a lot more moves, I believe, to be made as well.
Yeah, I agree. I love that. I'm don't quite have the desire to listen to Simeon and Griffin during the holidays, so we'll schedule that one later. It is one I do want to have, though, for sure. But I think the champion discussion would be a really fun one and a really good one. Thank you, both coaches, for doing this impromptu live stream. Thank you to everybody for watching, even you, Coach Campbell, over there on the couch. I see you. But thank you guys. And I'll leave you guys with this. In the real world, people dream, but in this league, we get to live the fantasy.
D time.
Taking random shots for no fucking. Oh, fuck. Shut the fuck up.